Welcome, everybody. This is going to be more like a spouse edition because I am sitting across from the most beautiful woman on the planet and my wife, Stephanie Roggie. Welcome.
Hi.
You have been on here a couple of times. We had some like couples episodes with Nick and Brielle and you and I, but this will be just like a quick kind of like spouse series, and Nick and Brielle will be on here themselves, just them, soon. So that's really going to be fun. I don't know where to start when I describe you. It's hard. Best decision I've ever made. My best friend. Absolutely stunning. Shocks me every day. So if anybody hears me pausing at any point, I'm just staring into her eyes. I appreciate you for a lot of reasons. And I won't just sit here and flatter you the whole time because I think you know these things. But you are the glue that holds our family together. You are such a hard worker, such a good mom, and a great wife. And I feel like that kind of puts it all into perspective. Other than that, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a go-getter, you're just jack of all trades. You're just the perfect lady. So I wanted you just to take a second and just tell people, you know, a little bit of background about you real quick, and then we'll kind of talk about how we met. This episode is going to be super fun. We have like some airy questions that we kind of developed this morning. We are very much still learning parenting. We're learning marriage, learning life, how to navigate that. So a lot of these questions will be really fun, and a lot of them will be a little bit deeper. But I think that everybody that is listening will really enjoy this. So back to you. Just give us a brief introduction to who you are.
Okay. So I feel my identity lies a lot now with being a wife and a mother. So I am obviously married to Brock. We've been married for 5 years, and we have 2 daughters so far. We have a 3-year-old and a almost 15-month-old. So that keeps me very busy. I also own a business in Connecticut. Brock and I own a swim school. And so I do work from home with the help of Brock. My primary role right now is taking care of the girls. But I also have a heavy influence at work too, which is nice. I really enjoy that. And I feel there's some women who don't necessarily want their identity to be a wife and mother. Like they are those things, but they don't necessarily identify as those. Mm-hmm. But I love being a wife and mother. And so if people call me Cece and Gigi's mom, I love that. Like that feels like my main role.
Not to get too much into it, but what do you think that is? What do you think that is about with women that you know or women that struggle with that part of identity? What is that about?
I don't know. I do hear that a lot, like especially on social media. I hear that there's quite a bit of women who just don't want to be identified as somebody's mother. Like they have their own identity, and being a mother is a role that they have, or being a wife is a role, but also maybe their career is part of their role, and they don't want to identify as just one.
Okay.
But to me, I love that. Yeah. So I'm fine if my main focus is being a mom right now.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny because like the suffragette movement, you think of the societal pressures would have been, you're supposed to stay in the home and take care of the home and the kids and be a housewife and all that. And now it feels like decades and decades later that the pressure maybe is the opposite. Kind of like you should be out there and be a boss babe and kind of move away from those. And
don't get me wrong, I love being a boss babe. Like I'm very happy that I have my business, and I hope that the girls have the vision that they can do anything they want in life.
Right. And there's value to both.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So we'll start out kind of light and funny. Sound good? All right, so light and funny. Let's see. First one. This is an easy one. You better get this right.
Okay.
Who takes longer to get ready, and what's the real reason?
Okay, I feel like this is obviously a very easy one. Brock is very quick to get ready.
I thought you were going to say that I take the longest.
No. I take a very long time to get out the door. The second part of that question was, what's the real reason?
Is there deeper time management problems?
I think there is. Yeah, I think there is a deeper underlying issue here. I have no time management skills. I don't know why. I've struggled with it my whole life. I tell all my friends this. They all know that I'm going to be late. So if they say 10, they probably mean 10:30, but they're telling me that it's 10 because I'll get there at 10:30.
No way. I should have
so.
figured that out a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
All right, hon, we got to be out of here at 9:30.
Yes.
Which means I actually want to leave by 10.
No, that you want to leave by, yeah, exactly. Yep.
I'm going to start applying that.
Yeah. I don't know. I have very hard time management, which is ridiculous.
I get ready super fast.
You do.
It's funny, when we were in the police academy, when we would have to change from like uniform to PT gear back to uniform for a long time. It was like, okay, you guys have 3 minutes to get yourself in the gym, to get your uniform off, to get your PT gear and be back in formation, which is like impossible. But man, do you ever learn how to like get changed fast?
I need that.
They're like yelling at you. Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
I am a above average speed.
Yeah. And that was very hard for me. Transition into motherhood was I not only had to get myself out the door, but I have to get 2 little girls out the door too.
Triple whammy.
So even my friends, they've tried to help me set up like a step-by-step of how to get out the door smoothly, like fill up the water bottles the night before.
That's like an active meme. This is every man who's married or even has a girlfriend or is engaged can relate to this. Like just kind of like slowly fade away as we're waiting in the car.
And then I'm in the car and then I'm running back up the stairs because I forgot something.
Exactly. Okay, next one. Who would survive longer in an apocalypse and why? Another easy one.
We all know Brock would survive and last longer.
Because why?
I don't know. I mean, I do know for you, and you're very, I feel like, strong and smart, and you'd figure out food to eat. Keep going. You'd go through battles to survive and protect yourself and your family. Me, I don't know.
How long do you think you could last on your own?
I feel like I'm pretty scrappy, so I probably figure it out for some time. But once the mental stuff, that would get to me.
Okay, do you want to take the next one?
Sure.
All right.
Who is more likely to forget an anniversary?
You, again. That is brutal. Usually it's the guy.
Yeah, no, it's me.
Yeah.
You'll like have the entire day planned out for us and flowers and presents and the most thoughtful things. And I'll be like,
again, keep going. Sounds amazing.
It's May 10th. Why does he have all this stuff?
No. Are you serious? That's our anniversary, by the way.
I'm bad.
5, 10, 20. All right. My turn? Sure. Who's the better cook?
Who would you say is the better cook?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Myself.
All right. But I'm very good at what if I cook. If I cook, it comes out.
If Brock cooks, you're incredible. Like I feel like you're very gifted in many ways, and if you set your mind to something, you do it perfect. So like if I do give you the task of cooking, you are amazing. But I mostly
you do a lot.
Do all the cooking. I love to cook,
and you are a great cook.
Thank you.
Yeah, must be that Italian blood. You know what you're doing. Pasta.
Trying to make my grandma proud.
Okay, let's just shift into something a little bit more like pointed, intentional questions, I guess.
Sure.
So a fun reason why I wanted to do this podcast, this episode, kind of was not only just to get your thoughts kind of on record, but also so people could see what just a running marriage looks like, what things that we struggle with, things that we think we're good at, things that people maybe could draw from. We're trying to be transparent and let people know, like, look, life's hard. You need a partner. You need a good one.
Yeah.
You need communication. You need all of these things to work, to function. And life is tough. So it's easier when you got somebody to work through it with.
Yeah.
Okay. So some great questions. These are like listener questions.
Okay.
Want to get your opinion on some of this, and we'll kind of have some back and forth. So a very popular question: do opposites really attract?
That is a good question. I would say from learning through different relationships that I've had that I wish I didn't, I would say opposites should not attract, for the reason that I don't think that they last long term. So
in what way?
I feel like for big, important life decisions, morals, long-term goals, those things really you have to align with your partner. And so if you have a completely different political stance, or you see faith very differently, I don't think that the commitment is going to stand long term.
Yeah,
and
cause contention.
Yeah, and I'm grateful. I feel like you and I, that's something that has been great, is we are very similar in a lot of areas. And so it works really well. Sometimes it's been a little challenging because we are so similar that we can butt heads a little bit. And that's something that I feel like are working through and growing from. But overall, I think it's much better if your spouse is more similar than different than you are.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, especially when it's stuff that really matters. Like when my grandfather was on here, that's kind of what he was saying. Like, make sure you're on the same page with your goals, with your morals, with ethics. All of these like very core tenets of who you are and the foundations of your relationship have to be cohesive, have to be similar, have to be in line, have to be understood. And then you can carry out, some of the other things in your marriage. Like personalities, good luck finding somebody that has the same exact personality as you.
Right.
But interests are so different for everybody. Those are things that I feel like you can work through. If the core stuff is in place, and your whole mindset in a marriage is serving, well, then all of the other stuff is easier to work through.
Right.
Like, it's not impossible to work through. Whereas if you have a fundamental moral disagreement that you kind of put on the side burner until you're married, and then you have
children and you're trying to figure out what to teach them, what's the right way. That's really hard. Sure. Yeah. What about if I was a Red Sox fan?
That's an interest. That doesn't bother me.
Okay. I thought you would say,
I would worry about your mental state, I guess, no, I'm just kidding. Your decision making maybe isn't the best. No, I for some reason always thought that that's what was going to happen. I was going to end up marrying a Red Sox fan, and I lucked out. I lucked out and married a Yankees fan.
That is so funny. You should
probably thank your dad for that. He probably indoctrinated you pretty good.
Definitely. I think so. When you're with your spouse all the time, and obviously you enjoy being with them, you're going to start to enjoy the things that they enjoy because it brings them joy. And so, like, for instance, you play fast pitch softball, and I didn't even know what that was before we dated. My dad had played slow pitch, but and I didn't know that there was travel teams and all that. And so obviously that's not something I would have pursued before meeting you, but now it's a big part of our life, and I enjoy it because you're very passionate about it. So like those little things, I feel like, don't make or break a relationship. They can just add to it.
Well, okay, so I have a couple of like cliches, like marriage cliches.
Okay.
And I want to kind of get your opinion on what you think about it. Some of this is stuff we've never really talked about, probably. But I want to see. Yeah, I want to see if you're like, if we agree.
Okay.
A couple cliches it has on here is never go to bed angry. Thoughts. Go.
Brock's staring at me because Okay, so my take on that is I am much better to talk to and solve issues when I'm well rested. So
wow.
When Brock and I are having an argument if we have an argument at nighttime, I'm the one that's like, he's my husband. I know he loves me. We're going to be fine. Let me go to bed. I'll be nice and well rested. When we wake up, we can work through it. Meanwhile,
that's the reason. That's the reason, or is it like tired. I need some space to like think it over? I'm tired.
No, but like yes, it will give me time to decompress, to think things through. Again, go to sleep, get some good rest, wake up, and then have a clear mind. Versus you do not like that about me. that's probably a pet peeve of yours, is that you want to handle problems and fix them right away. You're a fixer. And so you don't like things to linger.
Right.
You might dwell on it overnight and think about it versus like be able to put it aside for a little while. And so am I right about that?
Yeah, it's hard to know when to fix an issue in the moment, or for, in your case, to be like, okay, well, this is actually an issue that we should probably address right now, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
And for me to also understand that there's times when you just need a minute to cool down, or you need some time to think about it more.
Yep.
With that myth, it says marriage myth busters is how I have it in my notes. It is a cliche. I personally agree with that because of the reasons that you actually said.
Yep.
That you are okay to wait. It's because we love each other. This is silly.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a big deal.
Yeah. There's no breaking up in marriage, right?
No,
so we know tomorrow, you know, we're going to make up and figure it out.
Yeah. So I think for me, just the idea of getting the silliness over with to get back to how we really are.
Yeah.
The faster, the better. Otherwise, it bothers me.
You just don't
term.
like to go to bed angry at each other. Like you would rather be happy and
So away we're different.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
And I think that because we know that about each other, that helps to make that could be a lot of friction there.
Right.
So
and
I think the fact that we do know at the end of the day, like, this is not a huge issue. Nothing is. We're going to be together forever.
Yeah.
There's no other options to separate ever. It doesn't even enter our vocabulary.
Yep.
Then it's something that I can understand and work through a little bit, although it may be painful for me in the moment. So I'd rather have it done with.
And me as well. Like I know that about you, that it's really hard on you if I don't sit and work through it. And so I feel like, we have to give and take a little bit. There's going to be times where I'm like, Brock, I really need some time. Let's talk about it in the morning. And there's going to be other times where, you know, I'm going to have to give to you and say like, no, this is really important to Brock. I need to sit down and figure this out with him. And that's just marriage and working through and, you know,
Also, if an argument's not going anywhere and escalating and neither side is really budging at all, sometimes a little bit of space is warranted. Sometimes it's good, which is a hard thing to do in the moment, to be able to pull back.
Yeah.
That is, if you're going to get married, you're going to have to learn how to do that and pull back, show humility, and apologize even if you don't feel like you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
Try to mend it, because ultimately the next day or whenever, you're going to look back at it and think it's so silly.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, who cares? Like, ultimately we love each other.
Yeah.
You know, and we can move past that stuff.
I was talking, I went to a church group that I belonged to last night. Brock wasn't able to go. He had to work, but they were saying when couples argue, there's like little things that can help arguments. And one of them is going nose to nose with your spouse. And so you're allowed to argue, but you have to be touching noses. And so like, it's so funny because, you know, one spouse is like, I don't like you, but like you can't say it with a straight face when your noses are touching.
Like icebreakers.
So it's funny.
The other one is, the other one I have in my notes.
Yeah.
Does the honeymoon phase end?
Oh, I like that question. I feel like I'm an outlier in this case. So, I know a lot of couples did much better when they were dating, and then when they got married and started to have, started to have children.
Yeah, life hits you, right?
You know, the relationship got harder versus, I don't know, the second we got married, yes, I guess I was in that honeymoon phase, but I just love being married. So to me, it hasn't ended. I don't know about Brock, but to me, I just feel like every day my love grows for you. And so like, I love you more than I did 5 years ago. And so to me, it doesn't end. It obviously changes. The dynamic changes. That's not to say that we go through seasons where we're like, we're not doing great right now. But to me, I love being married. So I think our relationship has improved since we were dating, even the early months of being married. What about you?
No, I don't think for me the honeymoon phase ends. I don't know. I'm more of a realist anyways. So like, I don't think like when we were in the quote unquote honeymoon phase, it felt like it does now to me.
Yeah, just living together every single day. I always say that my favorite part of the day is nighttime when me and you get to go in bed and watch a show together and talk and have that time. I look forward to that every night. And so, yeah, just living with your best friend. I feel like, yeah, the honeymoon phase is definitely not over, and I don't think it will be over anytime soon.
Hopefully ever. All right. Moving on to parenting. Talk about how kids changed your dynamic for better or worse.
So Brock and I were only married for a year when we found out we were pregnant with our first daughter. And I feel like we're such a close family, the four of us. Brock and I we both knew that we wanted to be parents. We wanted to have children. And so that was we were very aligned that way. We were very happy when I got pregnant and we brought our first daughter into the world. Overall, I think, what exactly was the question?
How has it changed? Like
Has it
dynamic, but
dynamic,
I think,
okay.
like just personally, how have you grown? Is it been for the better or the worse? In what ways?
Okay, yeah. So it's definitely been for the better. I love you as a dad. Again, it's just made my love grow for you. You're always doing things with the girls, always wanting to include them. And I absolutely love that. Obviously, anyone who's a parent who's listening knows how challenging and time-consuming parenting is. So we've had to make a conscious effort to make sure that we're putting our relationship first. And sometimes you forget when you have a newborn that's up all the time. We don't have the best sleepers. And so there are times where we don't feel like we get a ton of time, just the two of us, and just making that a priority to find time to remember that without us, the girls wouldn't be here. So we have to prioritize our relationship. And I think we try to find ways to do that and make a good effort to get a babysitter once a month and be able to go out and do things that we like, just the two of us. But again, being parents and being a very close-knit family, we do a lot of fun things, the four of us too, which is great. But yeah, the dynamic definitely changes after you have kids, and I think you have to make an effort to make sure that your marriage is doing well. And sometimes when you realize, oh yeah, I haven't been focusing on that, just, draw back and make it a priority. How do you think our dynamic has changed?
Oh, definitely. I think that's a time thing.
Yeah.
And being on the same page, our dynamic has definitely changed. It's more like a partnership in raising children, and how that looks to be on the same page with things. And so the biggest difference for me is that my priorities have shifted. So that changes the dynamic of our household.
Yep.
It changes the dynamic of our relationship in a better way.
Yep.
And I think that we do some things really well, other things that we need to keep getting better at. But our dynamic overall is that we are more focused and mission oriented, maybe. Like we have different purposes now and things to fulfill. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And I feel like just recently, something that helps us in our marriage and also helps us with raising the girls and being parents is giving each other time to do our own things.
Yeah.
And so if I go to mom's club once a night, you are amazing at being willing to watch the girls and wanting me to go and have a good time. And then I feel like I reciprocate where, if you have a lot of hobbies and if you want to go do one of your hobbies or hang out with your friends, I try to give you that time too. And we're really good at doing that for each other recently, would you say?
Yeah, it's been a focus and it's been a good thing. I think it comes back to sacrifice. It comes back to the more that you sacrifice for your partner, the more that draws out of them. It's so opposite. People will tell, and we've had comments on shorts and videos and different things about how you can just kind of see how the relationships work in real life with how they comment sometimes. And it's sad to see. But hopefully some of this message helps. You would think that there's a power struggle. There's a power dynamic. If I'm more sacrificial in what I want to lift up the other person, they'll take advantage of me. Right? It's like a dominance hierarchy. It's a lot of people feel that they can't give an inch, the person will take a mile, which tells a lot about the relationship right away.
Okay.
But the truth is, when you are sacrificing for your spouse, it draws that out of them in return to a higher level, even sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes reciprocal.
Like
and
constantly serving each other.
that's marriage.
Yeah. And also, I feel that we've learned this, or learned if we do this for each other, our marriage is better. And so giving us time to do things that we like to do on our own.
Yep.
When we're together, we have more to talk about. We can talk about those fun things that we did. I took a nutrition course and you were extremely supportive of that. And I did it with some mom friends. And I came home and I was just so excited to tell you everything that I learned. And so, and you were always willing to listen and just, like even the podcast, you're very passionate about it and you love it. And you being able to do it on your own and then coming to me and talking to me about it, like, it grows our relationship. We have a lot more to talk about. And so I think we've learned that, like, giving each other time to do things that we love, and making sure I'll watch the girls tonight. You go do, go hang out with the girls or go hang out with the guys. It really helps us in our marriage overall.
Yeah. And I don't want anybody to think that like we have any answers. We struggle with all of this stuff.
Yes.
Like it's a ongoing up and down battle.
Yeah.
But focusing on some of the stuff that you're saying there is totally true. When you let me go and play pickup basketball with the guys or whatever, it makes me want for you to go to a spa day with the girls or whatever. And it's just, if you have the mindset of sacrifice, which is what we're called to do for our spouse and love our spouse, then I think that comes as like a byproduct kind of. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. The next kind of category is like adulting together.
Okay.
What a segue. What a headline.
Remember when we didn't have to adult and things were so much easier?
It's funny that I say that, and everybody does say that, like, oh, well, everything was so much easier when you were not married or when you were dating or when you were engaged. And that is true. And like it's just because you have more free time.
Right.
And that's really the only reason.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't trade a second of today.
Yeah.
For a day to do nothing, to do just whatever we wanted to do and sit on the couch and watch a movie. It's a totally different value thing. And it comes down, I think, to just how much free time you have. And like, we have kids and a business and a lot of different responsibilities. And we have to keep an eye on our relationship. We don't have a lot of free time. Yeah.
I think that's, you like hit it right on target with that. Is that an expression?
Yeah, hit the nail on the head.
Hit the nail on the head. Before when I was single, let's say, and I had all this time on my hands and I didn't know how good I had it, quote unquote, I was longing for this. That's all I dreamt of, was having a husband, having children to take care of. And so I'm at my dream point. And so, yes, every single day is hard. I cry some days, when I don't get a lot of sleep and the girls might be fussy or, not listening very well. But I remind myself in those years, this is what I was hoping for. And yeah,
that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, I've really grown into that role. I feel like I'd always wanted to be a father, always wanted to be a husband. But the years leading up to when we met, I was so busy working. I was getting after it, really, trying to establish my own identity and figure out who I am. And that's important for every young man, for every young woman. Figure out who you are. Take the steps to make yourself, it sounds weird, but marketable in the space of finding a mate, and kind of bring yourself to a higher purpose, and understanding growth, and all of those kinds of things lead to finding somebody else. It's hard to find somebody else and focus on somebody else when you don't have your identity solidified, or you're very immature in a lot of ways.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it can't work. Of course it works, but there will be growing pains when you have more responsibility then. So if you've got issues that you're working out and in your immaturity and you don't take care of those, then you get married, then you have children. You have to work through those personality problems or you have to work through those struggles with all of this other stuff on your plate. Yeah. That is difficult. Yeah. That is hard to do. Well said. Very well said. You're good at this. Okay. Adulting together is where we were.
Oh, yes.
So joint bank account.
Ooh.
Yay or nay. And talk about money styles, budgeting fails, and financial wins.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of all encompassing. But adulting together is my favorite headline in my notes.
Adulting together, yeah.
Thoughts
so
on joint bank account.
You know my answer to this. It's yay. I feel like when you're married, it's our money. It doesn't matter if the wife is working outside the home and the dad's at home with the kids, or vice versa. The dad's at home, or the dad's out working, the mom's at home with the children. This is a partnership. It's a relationship. It's both of our money. And so, yes, joint bank account.
Agreed. Money issues is one of the highest predictors of marriage breakdown and divorce. Get on the same page with your finances. Get on the same page with your budget, what you can spend. Talk about purchases. Talk about budgeting. Talk about goals. And when I see people who have separate bank accounts, gosh, I just think there's so much room for dissension there. Yeah. There's so much room for, I make the money and you spend it, and you spend this amount. There's so much quarreling and so much fighting that's so unnecessary. Yeah. You are married. You have become one. You should treat your finances the same way. Yeah, I definitely lean towards what's mine is yours. You're both working hard. Both of your roles, whether you're both earning income or one is and the other is staying home and being the housekeeper, they're both significant and important and needed and valuable. Yeah, valuable definitely. Roles. Yep. And put a monetary value on something that doesn't technically bring in money and spends money, like parenting. And if you look at it as like a net negative because it's affecting your bank account, your mindset's wrong. It's going to be a problem. You're going to struggle. And again, like daycare costs the same as a mortgage in some states. So yeah. The next part of adulting together is household wars. Okay. And what that means, it sounds really ominous. Yeah, what I actually meant by that is who gets designated to do what and how is that negotiated? Oh, okay. I like that. So something that I wish that we focused on a little bit more when we were pregnant with Sienna, or I was pregnant with Sienna, there was a book that we had read, and the first chapter had talked about like designate roles. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. But like one person, and it seemed silly to me at the time because I'm like, oh, everything's going to flow so nicely. It doesn't when you have a very colicky newborn like we did. Yes. But like even just listing out like who's responsible for the trash, who does the dishes, who does the cooking, who does the lawn, things like that. And so I feel like we have pretty designated roles. Of course, sometimes, if I'm having a hard day with the girls, you might pick up the slack with the dishes, or, if you're out on a Tuesday night, garbage night is Tuesday night, I might do the garbages. But I feel like it's very helpful to have designated roles in terms of having a household run smoothly. And so we didn't necessarily do that when Sienna was a baby, and we've grown to kind of assign roles to us. Like, I don't mow the lawn. Brock mows the lawn. Right. Most of the time I'm doing the vacuuming. Brock's not doing the vacuuming. And of course, I'm not perfect. Brock isn't perfect. So there's times where we slack and we need to pick each other up. We should have that as a constant header at the bottom of this episode. We struggle with these things.
We struggle. But yeah, it does. I definitely feel like young couples who maybe have been, are going into marriage can learn that, yeah, having assigned roles is really, really nice.
Right. I think that mostly it comes down to communication and expectations. So if I'm completing, X amount of tasks around the house, it leads to bitterness when it's not assigned roles because you start to equate them differently and say, oh, well, mowing the lawn is a way bigger task than something that maybe you do, and vice versa. Well, I watch the kids for 3 hours and you clean the driveway or clean the basement.
Yeah.
And I think that designated roles help to delineate responsibility.
Yeah.
And kind of pass it out so that your responsibilities, and if something's not up to par.
Yeah. I kind of have a funny story to go off of what you just said, but you mow the lawn and it takes you about like an hour. You have one of the push mowers.
Yep. Good cardio.
Yep. And so
like the way it looks.
What Brock had said, like sometimes I used to get a little bitter of Brock mowing the lawn because I would be inside with the girls and I would look outside and Brock has his headphones on and he's mowing the lawn and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want an hour to be by myself outside listening to music. And so you told me like, go ahead, push the lawnmower.
And then what happened?
I got through maybe one stroke or whatever. And I was like, nope, never mind. I will head back in with the girls. Don't like that.
Well, that's not something that you can say anymore. Like when you're talking about even gender specific roles, you can't really discuss this in public forum anymore because like everybody gets offended.
Okay.
Like, oh, well, the men are more physical, so they should do like more of the physical work. And then, you'll get pushed back. And then the same is true in the opposite direction. I personally think, just from experience and from watching all of the great men and women that are couples and that I grew up around, that I know that are in our community, seems to work out.
Yeah.
So not one task is greater than the other task.
Yep.
And they take different times and they're different stressors.
Yep.
They are different difficulties, but ultimately if I have a list of 10 things and you have a list of, it could be even more or less, it's the common goal of one household moving forward.
Right.
And if something's not done, like if I don't do the lawn in like 3 weeks and it's like way overgrown and well, then I need to get that in shape. It's my responsibility and I need to take care of it. I shouldn't have to let that bother you. But when it gets to the blame game, then that is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
When it gets into like the keeping score game, we've struggled
with that. Yep. And I think we're getting a lot better. And again, some of this is just time and working things through. But yeah, like for instance, it's not necessarily your job to prep and make the meals for the girls. And so like, I normally do breakfast, lunch, dinner, their snacks. And yeah, I used to think like, oh, if I left for a couple hours, like Brock doesn't know what to give them for lunch. And that might've been a place where I was a little bitter when we had, 2 under 2 or whatnot. And I felt like I couldn't leave for a couple hours because you wouldn't know what to feed them. At the same time, I have no idea how to change the oil on our car. So like you have to remember each other's strengths and what one spouse does better or more efficiently than the other spouse. So you do a lot of the finances, you do the home projects, you're doing the outside work. I'm more of doing the inside tasks. And I feel like, again, when you know each other's assigned roles and you know what's expected of your partner and vice versa, your household works much smoother. And again, it goes back to serving each other. Like you take on a lot of responsibility to serve us. And then, I try to take on a lot of my responsibilities and make sure that I'm doing them to serve you.
That's great. That's really well said.
Oh, okay. Also, I didn't know if I was making any sense.
Also, I think it would be kind of a life hack too to know what kind of things that you like. Perhaps you enjoy taking out the garbage.
Yep.
Perhaps you enjoy washing the dishes. Then there should be some talks back and forth, not like they're negotiations, but like, hey, I actually really enjoy doing that thing that you don't like to do at all.
I
So
like
we
that,
could
yeah.
we could switch.
And you do that sometimes too. Like Brock knows I absolutely hate folding laundry. So I will wait until the very last minute. Like I have it in my head, like, okay, I have a few more days until I have to fold that pile of laundry, which is ridiculous. But there has been many times where like I've come home from a girls' night and the laundry's folded. And I'm like, that's my responsibility. And Brock took the time to fold the laundry, which he's very good at. It's very neat when he folds the laundry. I'm not very good at
I was
folding
taught
laundry.
well. Thanks, Mom.
But like it's little things like that that are so nice. Like that's not expected of you to fold the laundry. And when I come home and the laundry's folded, I feel like that's marriage. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that person loves me. You know,
Yeah.
he folded the laundry for me. Or,
Yes, men out there, do household stuff for your wives, especially when they have kids and don't have time to clean up. We like to keep a clean home. Like we'd like to keep it tidy.
Yeah.
We like to keep it clean as much as we possibly can. And lots of days, that's not how it is. Like lots of days, it's a mess.
the house is messy and
It's
yep.
lived in home.
Yep.
And that's just the stage of life that we're in. So if you even take the girls out for a little while, a lot of times, men, listen up to this. I will try to tidy you up around the house so that when you come home, it's kind of like,
yes,
just that
yeah,
little bit of calm,
I love that.
a little bit of easing the responsibilities off of your plate. And the same can go the other way. If I'm super busy or I had a hard day and Stephanie does one of my responsibilities, that goes a long way. Serve your spouse.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
One of my friends was talking to me. I guess somebody had asked her, how did you know that you were in love with your spouse? Like, when do you know that? And she was like, to be honest, you know, there wasn't any fireworks in our relationship. Not everybody's going to have that. And she said, I kind of knew that we were in love and we'd work when I came home and the dishes were done after I had worked all day, or I came home and the laundry was folded, like little things like that. I realized, yeah, this is the person I want to spend my life with. And so that just stuck out to me so much because in today's age, I feel like there's young couples are constantly trying to find the person that, like, you know, fireworks are going off and everything's so exciting, and a lot of times that's not always practical. There's not always going to be your quote unquote soulmate, but if you can find that person who's willing to serve you and help make your day just a little bit brighter, I think that those relationships are the ones that are going to last.
No doubt about it. I think another hack for anybody who's preparing to get married or is working, you know, to get married in the relationship. Learn your spouse's love language.
And
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's not as even important. I mean, it's important that you know yours, but it's
more important.
I would totally agree. It's more important that you know your spouse's. Like exactly the acts of service for that lady you're talking about.
Right.
Was
That's
massive.
Yeah.
And if he wouldn't have known that and he thought giving her gifts or spending quality time or whatever was going to fill up her cup, and it wasn't, then it just leads to problems. Communicate what your love language is to your partner, but also go out of your way to fulfill the love language of your spouse.
Yeah.
Very important.
And I think it's totally acceptable to ask them,
Yep.
what means the most to you? Does flowers mean a lot to you, or does taking out the trash mean a lot to you? Like, you don't have to be a mind reader. Mm-hmm. It's women like upfront for, it's okay for you to come up and just ask us. I don't expect you to be a mind reader.
Right. And sometimes sacrifice, again, it's going to be a theme, but especially when it comes to marriage, sacrifice might look to you like doing the love language that your partner appreciates that you don't enjoy.
You're right. Yeah.
And that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the next section that I kind of wanted to get to is just, some personal growth and self-reflection, kind of life reflection stuff. In my notes, I have what is a way that marriage has changed you for the better and an area that needs more attention.
Okay, that's a great question. So the first part, I would say when we first got married, I was pretty young. We got married when I was 24. And so I feel like I was pretty immature. I was still very focused on Stephanie and like what pleases Stephanie, what makes me happy. And And so over the course of our 5 years of being married,
Oh yeah,
such a
we've made
long
it.
time.
We're experts now.
Yeah, I have found that I have become more selfless. I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to be even more than I am right now. But yeah, just trying to live for you. Trying to do things that bring you joy, that support you. Because I feel like when you're at your best self, I'm also at my best self. Because again, it's going back and forth with the serving. It's kind of a theme that we've been talking about, serving one another. So yeah, becoming more selfless. And I think moms in general learn that when they have children, it's no longer about themselves. It's about your children. It's about your spouse. It's about meeting their needs before your own need. So I think that's one way I've grown in marriage, is being less self-centered and more what's going to help Brock, what's going to help our relationship.
Yeah, in our family, ultimately.
In our
You kind of answered both there in that question, right? Kind of what needs more work.
What needs more work? Yeah, I would say what needs more work is, yeah, I kind of answered that still needs some growth, and there's room to grow there. Yeah, I would say also listening. That's like one of my goals for this year, is to listen better to you. I do a lot of talking. I'm quick to, if we do get into an argument, I'm quick to, but right away back, like defend myself quickly. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of my goal, is to be a better active listener to you, and to be a little more quiet sometimes, just less quick to have a response.
Yeah.
Or even an opinion sometimes, like, yeah.
Slow to anger.
Yeah.
A soft answer turns away wrath.
Okay, yeah. I'm not thinking of the correct Bible verse.
But all of those things are true and are reciprocal for me. The thing that marriage has changed the most in me for the better is that I feel much more responsibility and purpose. I feel like what I'm doing is valuable. What I'm doing is important.
Yeah.
And not that it wasn't doing that for the few years leading up to before we were married, but definitely has taken on a whole new lease on life. I'm not just responsible for me anymore. I'm responsible for you. I'm responsible for your safety. I'm responsible for our relationship. I'm responsible for our walk with the Lord spiritually. Yeah. I'm responsible now for 2 young little children. And, this question was geared toward marriage, but I guess we could talk too how parenting has changed us. I just feel so much more alive. I feel more like what I'm doing really matters. And that is, especially for a man, I can't speak for any women, but especially for a man, like that's what you want. Like you want something to strive for. And a lot of men would think, oh, well, I need to do the next big thing. I need to be very successful. I need to be very rich. I need status. I need to climb up the hierarchy. I don't know for me personally if that would do it. I know it does do it for me, being a father, being a husband.
Love that.
And I can attack those things the same way as somebody would a high-level career. Because in each of those areas, there's so many things I want to get better at. I want to be a better communicator. I want to be a better listener. I want to be more patient. This kind of goes into the stuff that needs work. Yeah. I need to know when to walk away and not be argumentative. And that's something that I struggled with for a long time, because I thought most of the time that I was right. And sometimes, even if you are right, it's better to walk away and not create more problems. Patience is a big thing. Parenting especially will teach you patience. Yeah. It'll teach you how to refine the parts of your personality that are sharp and round them out a bit. You will learn how to deal with stress. You will learn how to deal with very little sleep. And all of that translates to your partner and how you interact with them. So I am definitely attacking sounds funny. I am pursuing my marriage and pursuing my parenting the same I would something that the world seems is more valuable, like a high level career. That is so good because there's a lot of purpose in that. I do feel very purposeful and valued by my family, but I want to do so much better for them.
Yeah. I feel like one of the questions I think that might have been on there that we didn't get to, I can try to find it quick, was what would you say to your younger self before you were married? Or like what advice would you give? I'm going to change the question a little bit. Like if I were to tell my 15-year-old self where I would be at 29, I don't think my 15-year-old self would believe me, or at least my 15-year-old self would be really excited because I love my life. Like I love my children. I love my husband. And I feel you said it perfectly, that you attack being a husband and a father the way you would a high level position. And I think that I try to do the same thing. Like this is our goal, is to have a family. And, when we're 80, I don't think we're going to regret spending as much time and investing as much time in each other and in our children. So yeah, I love our life, and I'm grateful for our marriage and our family dynamic and what we're building together. We also do work together, and so we do that as well, and it kind of all intertwines. So
I think I love that because I draw inspiration from that, and I want to make that kind of like a core tenet in who that I am personally, not who anybody else is, what things I can do better and how I can always do better. I'm a very conscientious person. So I want to do everything that I do like perfectly. Yeah. And that has its significant drawbacks, but also I think that if you can use it in the right way, it's really good. Yeah. That's how I want to be in my marriage. That's how I want to be in my parenting. And my relationships, more broadly speaking, in my walk with the Lord and any professional capacity that I'm in. It's interesting where you can draw inspiration, because I definitely wanted to get to this on the podcast. We watch Bluey. We love Bluey. I don't know if it's one of the more wholesome cartoons out there. I think it's extremely clean. I would recommend it. Yeah. And I can be pretty picky on what our kids watch. I am learning stuff from Bluey. Okay? Weird, right? Watch the dad, Bandit, their dogs. Watch how he interacts with his children and will go above and beyond to spark their creativity or spend quality time with them or be a goofball or roughhouse with them. Yeah. And a lot of times when we're getting caught up in the day-to-day grudge of life and we lose that. And daddy, come play with me, 5 minutes, or play with me for a minute. Okay. Like I'll do that. Yeah. Because that is money in the bank for something so much greater than whatever little stupid task I'm doing or chore around the house or like maybe shorter term goals I have. Investing in your children in those little ways over the long term is something I'm so conscious of now and really grateful for that. And I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't watch Bluey. Yeah. And I'm kidding, but yeah.
To be honest, the last time Brielle and I were on, we talked about screen time and, that we're, at least for myself, I was trying to do less screen time. However, I feel as though, sometimes screen time can be used as a tool. And right now in our routine, our bedtime routine, Sienna and Giada are allowed to watch 2 episodes of Bluey before bed. They're only 6 minutes long, so we give her. Normally, Giada will sit through 1, and then I'll put her to bed. But Cece can watch 2, and honestly, Brock has made it a family event, and so it's really sweet where the girls have matching Bluey pajamas. And every night we'll sit on the couch and watch an episode of Bluey. And again, this is something I have to work on because sometimes I'm not really paying attention to the Bluey because, mom brain, I'm thinking about the next step, what else I have to do. but Brock is very intentional about watching Bluey with Sienna. And Bluey is one of those that's nice because it's really cute for the kids, but there's a message for the parents in it, and there's humor for adult humor in it. And so yeah, that is a thing where I feel like if you're going to put your kids in front of the screen, participate with them and watch it together and be able to talk about it. And that's something that we really enjoy right now in this season, is watching a couple Bluey episodes together. And again, there's a lot of episodes that parents can really relate to, and they're really funny.
Yeah, and have good messages.
And have good messages. Yeah.
I would watch Bluey if I didn't have kids.
But you remind me so much of the dad. Like, Brock is the dad that gets on the floor and lets the kids crawl all over him. Like, he's always wrestling Cece and Gigi and playing with them and just doing crazy, goofy things. And you do remind me of the dad. And I feel like it's really cute at this season in our life, because we do only have 2 daughters at the moment. And the Bluey is a little girl, and she has a sister. And so there's 4 of them, mom, dad, and the 2 girls. So right now it kind of reminds of us. So anyway, talking about like family time and quality time. If you're going to use screens, get involved with your kids and watch the show and talk about it together.
Yeah. Yeah, make it a fun thing.
Yeah.
Make it a lasting impression. Make it lasting fun. Yeah. I also think that a lot of times we overanalyze how much we're disaffecting our children. If you love them, if your intentions are good for them, if you're really trying, those are the things that really go a long ways, versus like hyper focusing on how they respond to a directive that you give them. Or especially at a young age, there are things that they can't do. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. You need to listen to daddy.
Right.
Have the conversations with them often. But there is definitely a part of our culture that says, like, don't put them in front of any TV and don't do anything. It's like, I grew up in front of screens enough.
We turned out somewhat okay.
I mean, we're talking like early 90s, mid 90s, but I think that if that's what's going to mess up your kids, and you've lost the battle already. You've kind of already lost. And be intentional with your children. Just like with anything, too much can be a problem. Monitor it, be smart with it. But if you're going to do it, have fun with it. Do it to enjoy it. Have great memories. Grab some popcorn with your kids. Watch a couple episodes of Bluey before bed. And I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first. You got to watch Bluey.
Yeah.
But more realistically, like, they have a great family dynamic that's really good to model your behavior after. And I really think that you will never regret those extra little times where you said yes, where you said, I'll play with you, or I would love to play with you, or let's go somewhere together. They're my best friends too. Like, that's the craziest part. Giada and Sienna are also my best friends. And I feel like it's a pretty amazing thing to feel that way about your kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to regret down the road when we say, where did the time go? What happened? I want to know that I was present in the moment.
Yeah. And we spent
at least
all of our time,
together,
invested in them.
And so it's interesting, side note, it's interesting that I feel that way about my career too. Whatever I do professionally, I want to prioritize my family first. That can look a few different ways. You have to provide for your family.
Yeah.
So there's time constraints there for people that have no other options. I totally understand that. Yep. But I'm willing to make sacrifices in other areas of my life to be around. And if you can do that, that's a luxury that not everybody's afforded. So I want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. You were pretty adamant about me. There was a season where I wasn't sure if I wanted to pursue the swim school, and keeping it going. It was hard when you were policing at that time, and I was owning and operating the swim school on my own. And so you kind of kept telling me, like, keep going, because eventually this is going to really pay off, that we're going to be able to work from home and we're going to have our kids at home. And so that was really important to you, that you were able to be in the home.
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you're necessarily spending the whole day with the girls because obviously you're working, but the fact that you can like, step out of the office and say, hi, like, I have 5 minutes to play with you and then go back in the office. That's
or hear a little knock on my office door.
Yeah.
And a little peek through.
Yeah. It's so great. And like,
I'm very blessed that way.
Yeah.
And if I would have been doing my policing job, that's not an option.
Yeah. But also we worked hard to make that happen,
Yeah.
like
it was to make it happen.
Exactly. Like it's a choice that we make every single day. And if that were to change one day, we'd pivot and figure that out. But for right now, it's been good that you're able to be home and
especially
that present
now
with the girls.
Like, this time in their lives, especially now, is very precious.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last. Like once you get into your teenage and upper, like it's kind of you're becoming adults soon, and there's a different stage of life, but you'll never really get, and that lasts a lot longer, right? But there's this stage that they're going through now is that if you blink, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
A couple other things before we wrap up, just to kind of have fun with it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just do a little quick life reflection.
Okay.
The sliding doors moment. What if we never met?
Ooh, I don't like that.
What would life have looked like with you without me?
Okay. Again, my answer to this might seem like we have everything figured out, and we absolutely don't.
It's like, a hypothetical.
Brock's parents, have just stayed with us for a week in Florida, and they would tell you, yep, they do not have everything figured out. I'm sure they would.
Right.
I'm sure they could say that. But yeah, I feel as though my life is the best it possibly can be because I have you. And so if we had never met, something that was important to me was to get married and have children. I probably would have still done that.
There's no such thing as soulmates then.
I don't think that person would have, or I don't know if I would have believed in myself that I could open a swim school, that I could own my own business. I don't know if somebody else would be as great of a partner in terms of parenting together. I do find that you're my best friend. And so when I think of life without you, I get very like a lonely feeling. And so to me, my life is so much better with you in it. And yeah, it makes me very sad to think that I'm happy there's no alternative.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to think. I feel sorry for people that have those thoughts like, oh, what if I made this decision, my life would be so much better. Or if I married this person, my life would be so much better. Or if I waited to have kids, my life would be. I don't ever have those thoughts. Even on our hard days, like I would choose you over and over again. So I'm very grateful. I feel that you've pushed me to be a business owner, to open my business. You gave me confidence that I can succeed in that. And the business has been very successful up until this point. You constantly try to make me stronger. I can have a tendency of being a little bit mentally weak. If something's hard, I don't like to pursue it. I like to take the easy route sometimes, and you've kind of pushed me to get a little bit mentally stronger in different areas of my life, including being a mother. Your kids don't sleep at night. Oh, well, you got to get up with them. You got to, and again, you help constantly with them, but there's areas that you've made me grow and make me grow, which I think that's very important for a partner, to be trying to get the other person to improve and helping them through that process and making them want to be better. So you do that a lot for me. I don't know if any of that made sense. Not very good at talking, but
when you have a spouse, like one of the key points of being married and having a lifelong partner is that they bring out the best in you. Well, bringing out the best in you doesn't always, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy in
Yeah.
certain areas, but a lot of times it takes work. And how do you encourage your partner in a healthy way to better themselves without that person feeling insecure, without that person feeling like they're inferior some way or offended or any of those things? So how do you navigate doing that without making it personal or without hurting that person? Very hard to do. And I'm not always the best at that. There's so much about the way that I try to encourage that sometimes comes across like an attack. And I usually don't mean it that way. Usually I mean like I'm trying to draw something out of you to help you in this area that needs improvement. And vice versa. You've done that for me in a million different ways. I'm pretty self-motivated. I'm pretty internally motivated, but your presence and the way that you have impacted my life has definitely had an influence on me wanting to be the best version of myself for you, for my girls, for them to look up and say, what does a good father look like? What does a good husband look like?
And I think that's another key part of marriage is when your spouse does have flaws, because we're human, everyone has flaws. When your spouse does have some flaws, yes, you're going to try to help them to work on those. But also just being able to recognize, okay, this is an area that Brock might struggle with, but then being able to draw on the fact that you were the world's best birthing partner. Like to say like, does that little flaw really matter in terms of how he is in this, like compared to this area? And so like I do try to think about those things. Like you're extremely thoughtful, and I could go on and on about all the great things that you've done for me. So the small areas that you need to work on, I try to remind myself, like, am I going to nitpick those things when in the grand scheme, look at all of the great qualities about this person? And so that's maybe another little tip to younger couples is try to really focus on the great things about your significant other versus the small things that they might need to work on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly spot on. It doesn't mean that you can't call out things in your spouse that need to be corrected. See how that is handled, see how that is received, and then try to move forward in the best way that you think you can. Because ultimately, any shortcomings in my life, I want addressed.
Yeah.
And we are one unit, so that is important.
Yeah.
That we function as a well-oiled machine. Okay, so we're pretty much getting ready to wrap up here. A couple last notes that I have.
Okay.
Advice we'd given ourselves on wedding day.
I would tell both of us to I say this, but then I'm like, wait a minute, we're very intentional people. I think just day to day, don't be too serious. Like, don't be too hard on yourselves. I constantly am worried, am I not a good mother? Am I not doing a good job? Am I not a good wife? And I'm sure you have those internal thoughts of things. I think just, like we're doing a good job. Don't be too serious, too hard on yourself. If a child misses a nap,
It's okay.
It's okay. You're going to survive.
It is.
They will eventually,
Be tired and go to sleep.
Exactly. And,
right.
If you give your child candy, they're going to be okay. We can both be very hard on each other and on ourselves. And so, I would just tell on my marriage day, like, don't be too hard on yourselves. Don't be too, this life is very precious. So,
yeah. I think the thing that I would say is live in the moment. Like each stage that you have is precious in its own different way. And it's okay to leave stages behind. We were married with just the two of us for a year and 9 months, year and 10 months. Like, it's easy to look back on that and be like, oh, we should have taken advantage of that and traveled more and whatever. But we lived in the moment. And I feel like we knew where we were headed. And now that we're in a stage where we're so busy and life is moving faster, which is weird. You know, the days are long, but the years are short.
Yep.
Live in the moment.
I think our little Sienna woke up from her nap and she's coming down.
I'm encouraged often by people who are able to just zoom out and see the big picture.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in the mundane, stuck in the struggle, and to very much look back at the things that were difficult seasons and they didn't really matter. And you kind of get through them. Once you're through them, then something better's on the horizon.
And honestly, sometimes you forget. You're like, oh my gosh, I really struggled with that. It doesn't seem like it was that significant.
Right. Yeah. So. I think that's super important. People can get something from that.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to do better with that every day.
I know. I still stress about things that are very insignificant.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly working at that.
Perspective is such an important part of framing the world, and we are so blessed where we are, so blessed with all that we have, all that we're doing. That is what is most important. We were just in Florida on a vacation and we got in a car accident. We were rear-ended and
battle wounds.
Yeah, nice little bruise. You're the only one that got the injury. Oh, if anybody's curious, we have a 3-year-old watching here from the side. Yeah, she got a boo-boo on her arm, huh? Yeah. And
your leggy really hurt? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's new. Anyway, immediately it just shows you where your priorities are and perspective. Yeah, accidents are no fun, but as long as everybody's relatively okay, that is what really matters. If we could go through life that way, little stuff wouldn't bother us so much. A lot of people who can see the world that way just seem like they've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's no big deal.
Right.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to get more that way.
Yeah, if I could get to
be less bothered by like stuff that doesn't actually matter.
Right.
All right. So to finish out, this has been really great. Thank you. I hope anybody listening to this gets a little insight on how we're doing, what we're doing, some struggles we have, some things we think we do okay at, but ultimately just a fun time, a conversation with you. You know, we don't get a ton of time to just sit down these days.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning a lot about you with these podcasts and getting to talk to you on here.
Yes, good. Okay, last one. This is gonna be fun.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap up and we'll close out. Our most embarrassing moment as a couple. Great bonding and lots of laughs. What do you think?
I don't know. Do you have one in mind?
I don't. I thought you had one in mind.
What most embarrassing moment as a couple? I know an embarrassing moment for you that I was there and pretended I didn't know you.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I'm ready for it.
You might have to edit this out.
Just give it to me.
A couple years ago when we were at the airport and you were wearing socks because we had gone through security and the airport floor was so slippery.
Thank you. Make sure you make that point very clear.
I'm being a little sarcastic. It was not slippery.
Yes, it was.
Brock completely slipped, like literally on his butt. And it was so busy at the airport. There were so many people, and Brock gets up and he's like, "The floor is so slippery. Why would they make the floor this slippery?" No one else was having a problem. And I literally was like, I don't know that person. Go on the airplane.
Oh, man. You
so
want to keep that in the podcast?
So that was more of an embarrassing moment for you. Also for me, because you're my spouse.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I'm such an embarrassment. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, honey.
Does that answer the question?
For the record, that floor was the slipperiest floor that was ever a slippery floor. I don't know why they would do that. It's like an ice rink in there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again. I had a really good time.
Yeah. Thanks for having
It's
me.
very easy to sit across from a beautiful woman for an hour or two and talk about us. So, well, honey,
Maybe Daddy will interview you one of these days.
that would be fun. All right. Anything else? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
All right. I'll see you, everybody.